Welcome everyone to this seminar, which is featuring Yazzie on the COP27 Indigenous perspective and the climate crisis. This is a seminar focusing on Diné environmental and human rights activist Yazzie on his experience and his advocacy at the COP27 meeting in Egypt. This seminar is funded by the National Science Foundation, Native Fuse Alliance, and the NSF Transformation Network. These are both projects in which Indigenous voices are amplified in the food, energy, water nexus, and where we engage in community participatory research with Indigenous communities. I want to welcome you and especially thank you for being here at the end of the academic semester as well as the year. And this seminar will be recorded and available for others who would like to view it at a later time. My name is Carletta Chief. I am a professor and extension specialist in environmental science and also director of the Indigenous Resilience Center. I had the privilege of working with Yazzie in the Golki Mines Build and Net Exposure Project. And Yazzie is an environmental activist who also has held leadership roles both locally in the Navajo Nation chapter of Shiprock chapter, as well as being on the Human Rights Commission for the Navajo Nation. In addition to his creative and prolific writings on environmental justice, he has also traveled the world to share his knowledge and to amplify the voices of Indigenous peoples around environmental justice. Without further ado, I'm very pleased to introduce Mr. Yazzie and to hear from him about COP27 and Indigenous participation there. Thank you very much.
Khote na sha tayat na anines tahoj ko shin sla tohe tlini da sja kian ane da che tatchi ni da nala ado shatsen kapahadan la ko yot ya ba hansen deje kwa ya Khan so the Nabash Jana would English no equa, which our echo isn't that way, not the less. I'm grateful, very pleased and that I am able to be with you this afternoon. All of those relatives who are with us this afternoon. By way of introduction, I'm here in Shiprock, New Mexico, and I recently retired from active work. Well, actually about 3 years ago, after about 45 years in the Navajo tribal government in various elective and administrative positions. And my activist work began back as early as 1969, when the American Indian movement phenomena first came to Shiprock. And that was a great awakening for many of us. And we became active in advocating for Indigenous rights, civil rights, and defending the Earth Mother against various exploitation and so on. So I've I've been doing that all of my adult life. And up through today, I'm 72 years of age now. And fortunately, I'm able to continue that work on behalf of the people and our Earth Mother. As Carletta mentioned here in the introduction, I came into work with the Navajo Nation at the Human Rights Commission, which occurred after the murder of a young man in Farmington. Farmington and our community, we've been at great odds for many years, much of it based on racial tension, the exploitation and discrimination that our people suffered. And that took me to many places, including the United Nations in Geneva. The first time I went to Geneva, I had on my schedule to attend the Indigenous caucus. So I went to this great hall where there were many people. And up till that point, in my frame of reference, Indigenous was brown people. But I walked into the room and there were people of all color. And my concept of Indigenous was greatly expanded with that. So through the years since then, I feel like I've advocated on behalf of the Indigenous peoples of the world and of all color, and I'm proud to be able to do that work. My venture to COP27 began with the recommendation by the International Indian Treaty Council, of which I'm an alternate board member. The recommendation was made to the United Nations Secretariat, and the Secretariat invited me to COP27 as a knowledge holder. And that title is stated in other ways, knowledge keeper, and so on. But I personally am, of course, very humbled by that designation. But I certainly do not profess to be a knowledge keeper. I view myself as a knowledge seeker, and it's a continual process to learn about ways of knowledge. And so at any rate, what I want to do here is share some slides. You know, no story, especially with long ways travel, is complete without pictures. So I want to go ahead and go through some of these slides just to share with you my journey to COP27.
Should not it's either. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. My flight from Albuquerque took me to Dallas, and then Dallas directly to Dubai. And this picture here just shows the glimpse that I got of Dubai. And then on from there, we went to Cairo, and this is not a very clear picture. Of course, it's taken from the air, but the only view that I saw of the pyramids was right here. There were two pyramids sitting here. And I apologize that it doesn't show very clearly. So when people ask me if I saw the pyramids, that's the only view that I got of them. And I learned that Egypt is basically on two different land masses. Cairo is over here in the Egypt that's a part of the African continent. And then the other portion of Egypt on the eastern side is on the other side of the Red Sea. And that portion is closer to Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and so on. So, and Sharm el-Sheikh is at the southern tip of that other part, the eastern part of Egypt. So I didn't get the opportunity to see the pyramids or any of those other attractions there. The COP27 was massive. I tell you, there was so many people. I understood there was over 30,000 people in attendance. And they had these great big halls. So many of them, you keep getting lost. But all of the countries from around the world who participated had their pavilions. And this one shows a picture of the Indigenous Peoples Pavilion. And I just want to buzz through some pictures just to show you a sample of what I saw. And it was really, really something. It was this a tremendous experience. This is at the Indigenous Pavilion at the opening ceremonies. And here's some young folks from Hawaii that's doing a haiku. Some of the folks there from around the world. And this is another picture of the Indigenous Pavilion. And at the pavilion, constantly, there were presentations by panels by different groups of Indigenous peoples from around the world. And this particular presentation was made by the Indigenous peoples of the Amazon. And of course, the struggles that our relatives are having down there is just so tremendous. And I was very proud and privileged to meet some of these folks from the Amazon and other hot spots around the world. We also were visited by this gentleman by the name of Ian Fry. He's a special rapporteur. For those of you that are familiar with the United Nations and its organs, there are numbers of special rapporteurs that are appointed and given responsibility over specific issues. And this gentleman here visited us and talked about the human rights of Indigenous peoples in the context of climate change. And I was able to make a statement there in front of Mr. Fry. And my emphasis was that, even back home here, within our own country, with our own tribal governments, many times we are at odds with our tribal governments. And I just wanted him to hear that so that he would include that in his report. But I alluded to our struggles currently, right now, with the helium development proposals that are happening, the hydrogen development proposals, and of course now the Navajo transitional energy company is, in our sense, encroaching on Wallapai land there in northwest Arizona, where they are being confronted with development to mine lithium. So that's the crux of the statement that I made here in front of Mr. Fry. And here we're gathered as indigenous peoples. This gentleman talking is Inuit from northern northeast Canada. And this chief that I was fortunate to also get to meet is a chief from the interior of Brazil. Not so close to the Amazon, but of course their issues, their struggles are very commonplace with other indigenous peoples around the world. And there were quite a few indigenous groups that came in their full tribal dress, and it was very, very awesome. It was just such a spectacular thing to see. This young lady is from the Sami Nation in Norway, northern Norway, and this young man is from Ecuador. I was very pleased to see young people from all over the world really advocating for the future, really advocating for the protection of the Earth Mother. These guys, I call them my nephews. They're from Hawaii. And here's I attended this youth panel, and it was this very heartwarming that there would be the compassion that and the commitment that these young people have. This young lady is from India. She made a very spectacular talk, and I was proud to be able to have my picture taken with her. Some more folks from along the Amazon. This is Chief Howard from the Mohawk. And this young muscle man is from Hawaii. And we, through the years, I followed many indigenous struggles. And I talked to this young man about the telescope fight there on one of the Hawaiian islands. And these gentlemen here are from this guy with the white shirt, that's Chief Gary. He's Dine from the southern part of Alaska. And this other chief here, Chief Erasmus, Bill Erasmus, is from northern Canada, Yellowknife area. And he's Dine, and the young man there in back is also Dine. And I was very, very grateful to meet these gentlemen because they're my relatives. Here on in our part of the country, we call ourselves Dene, but they call themselves Dine. And we compared languages, we compared stories, and there is so much similarity between who we are. And we even talked about someday bringing representation from all of our different tribes together, the Athabascan language people. And here, Chief Bill and I are exchanging words that are.
Huh? What time are you going to be through? I could probably wait.
No, go. I'll be done at 4, but go.
Very similar, great similarities between our languages, and it was just astounding. Some of the highlights that I was able to participate in, this great hall was attended by maybe 3,000 people. And this guy here was the big attraction. And you all notice this gentleman. So I was able to get inside this presentation by President Biden. And he said what he needed to say, some nice words and so on and so forth. But, you know, the disappointment of obviously is that oil development is continued to be supported by his administration. And as President Biden was talking, these young people, you know, the hall was full of people. These young people stood up and they with their banner, and they gave a war yell. And their banner read "Fossil fuel versus people." And they got escorted out of the place after the meeting was done. But I got to meet them, and I was very proud of them. And there were different kinds of demonstrations, protests. Here, these folks are advocating for repatriation to indigenous peoples for the damage that has been done to them by the exploitation of their natural resources and their cultures. And as you may have seen in the news, this protest was successful. And then, of course, I had to play the tourist part, and here's me with this camel. And some of the great sights that I saw there in Sharm el-Sheikh. Sharm el-Sheikh is just a real tourist town. And but we got to see some of it. Here's me with some of the local folks. These camel guys. And that concludes my little picture show here. The other high point of my travel there was where this picture is taken. And I'm gonna try to bring that up. I hope you can see this.
Oh, Ape Halzada.
Okay. When there was an opportunity for the indigenous peoples to meet with the governments, with the parties from across the world. And I'm not clear how it worked out, but I was the one that made the presentation from North America on behalf of the indigenous peoples of North America. And this is the statement that I made, that I gave there in meeting with the governments of the world. As indigenous peoples, we have remained on the lands we are original to, remaining intrinsically connected to our lands. The indigenous perspective, as it speaks to land, water, all of nature, is an understanding, an innate realization, an honoring of the sacred reality that the Earth Mother is a spiritual living entity beyond her physical nature. This recognition requires observance to assure the continuing of life. Our indigenous observance through prayer, song, and ceremony are constant. These understandings are an integral part of the natural order. A fallacy of Western thought is the attempt to separate the physical from the spiritual. This has led to materiality over spirituality. commodification of the earth, and the turbulent acquiring of wealth. For life to be, there can be no separation, distinction, or boundary between the physical and the spiritual paradigms. Only in death is there a separation. We have lived divergent paths. The manner of life we live today reflect our life journeys. The histories we have may tell of our adherence to or the deviations from the original instructions. Indigenous peoples have remained true to the original teachings. We, the Indigenous, know we are the children of our Earth Mother. We have the awesome responsibility to care for her as she unfailingly and tenderly cares for us each moment of our lives. We belong to her. She belongs to us as a mother and child belong to each other. We understand her and she understands us. Her life is our life. These original teachings tell of how we should live to have happiness, how to treat each other and the Earth Mother. The original teachings were provided in common to the four colors of humanity at our separate times of creation. The four colors of people are of one life source. We have one mother, one father, our Earth Mother and our Father Creator. We are all truly sisters and brothers. Our declaration is that the world's governments, corporations, and subscribers to modern science and technology do not consider all perspectives, including the Indigenous perspective. Thus, they are at a disadvantage as their thought process is incomplete. They are in conflict with the original instructions, with their disregard for Indigenous knowledge. For there to be a true opportunity to rescue humanity, our planet home, the wisdom of Indigenous peoples must be recognized and honored. We do have answers and solutions. You must hear us. Some of our elders, medicine people, say it is too late. But for the sake of the grandchildren, we continue to blow on the embers of hope. We will never stop fighting to protect our Earth Mother. We will never stop defending the future of the grandchildren. This is the statement that I made, that I gave there at the COP27. And this is the essence of my worldviews, my mission in life. This is what I have been advocating and projecting and defending all these years. And you know, some of our elders, they say that it's too late. You know, we have all these efforts and activities by people of good hearts, the earth defenders, the advocates of humanity throughout the world, fighting, doing all they can, all that we can to defend our Earth Mother. But the strength, the power of that which is doing us harm is so great. The energy companies, the polluters, people who are doing harm to the earth, who are doing harm to the earth's children. This is who we stand up against. And I do what I can. However large my effort may be, however insignificant it may be, we continue to advocate for the life of our Earth Mother. And one of the things I talk about is the what we call the indigenous perspective, the knowledge of indigenous people. You know, one of my theories, I guess I can say, is that all people of all color at one time had these basic understandings of what life is about what life should be about. And somewhere along the way, one group of people began exploiting the earth and the rest of the people of color. And so we find ourselves in this very troubling times, very troubling world. And one of the things that I believe is that what I present here in my little talk, it's applicable to all people. We are truly all brothers and sisters, and we fight the forces that will do us harm, the forces that is doing our Earth Mother harm. And yes, at times our struggles seem to be unwinnable. The forces of money, the forces of power, the forces of greed are so strong, so great, that they seem to overpower the good. But nevertheless, we stand to fight and defend our Earth Mother. And my appreciation, our appreciation, goes to our brothers and sisters of all color that have these same convictions that we must protect life. And that is my life story. That is what consumes me day to day, and on. And I appreciate the time and opportunity. My little sister, Dr. Chief, for having this time, this opportunity to talk to this audience and to say that we must remain with good hearts. We must remain in defense of our Earth Mother for the sake of humanity, for the sake of our future, for the sake of the future of our grandchildren. That is all we can do. That is what we must do. Thank you.
Shana, thank you so much for sharing your experiences at COP27 Egypt, as well as the really powerful statement that you shared here today, and on behalf of the Indigenous peoples of North America. And I did share with the attendees a paper that it was written by Tormos Aponte, which is the influence of Indigenous peoples in global climate governance. And I encourage the attendees to take a look at this paper, which gives a review of the challenges that face Indigenous peoples in their participation in the COP27 and the conventions. And one of the things that strike me about this review is that Indigenous peoples manage or have rights for over a quarter of the world's land surface. But only recently, since 1998, Indigenous peoples have been able to attend the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. But there's differing views on their participation, how that has evolved. One side says that it's great and, it's an opportunity for Indigenous peoples, Indigenous knowledge to be incorporated in these actions, but also the other view is that the Indigenous peoples' participation are still limited, and that it's a privilege that has not quite extended equally to Indigenous peoples, that there's still inadequate mechanisms for Indigenous peoples to participate, particularly when it comes to recognizing human rights and recognizing that colonial systems and practices still marginalize Indigenous peoples, and the pathways for their participation are still limited. And another point that you mentioned, Shana, was that Indigenous peoples are so diverse, and that also often is not recognized, that there's so much diversity amongst Indigenous peoples. So I just wanted to share that paper with you. I felt that was a good grounding for this conversation, and also firsthand account by my brother Chile Yazzie on his advocacy. So at this time, what we like to do is go ahead and open for question and answer. And we see this webinar as an opportunity for us to come together in terms of our work around climate change, both in terms of academia, but also connecting with the communities in which we work with. And this is an opportunity to have that dialogue. So I'll go ahead and open up for Q&A. While people are thinking about their questions, you can either put it in the chat or put yourself on unmute and ask your questions. But while I look through the chat, there was some comments from Carmen Melendrez saying that was beautiful and powerful. Thank you for sharing your statement. And from Rebecca Barnes, thank you for sharing, inspiring and powerful. Melanie Cody said, thanks for sharing, powerful message. And Kelly McDonald agreed 100%. Thank you. So we have a question from Ron Trosper. If I could just ask you to state your question. Thank you, Ron.
So it's very nice to have so much participation there, and thank you for the great pictures of how many folks were involved. And I get the sense that many delegations, I noticed there was a hall of delegations and lots of different pavilions. And so people are on the outside trying to have some influence on this on the conference. But do you think the Indigenous people had some influence? Was there some changes that you could see happen because of the positions that people were making?
It's a bit difficult to gauge. I think just because of the enormity of participation that was there. I had understood that there were about 500 or so Indigenous people there. And it's difficult to impress upon the powers that be within the framework of the conference on the legitimacy and the urgency that the indigenous perspective needs to be heard. Many times it just seems to it just feels like the powers that be, and in this case, of course, with President Biden, John, his name escapes me. Somebody help me. The conviction, I guess we can put it in that way, of the powers that be, is that their perception, their view of the world is it. That's all there is. So it's difficult for the indigenous perspective to penetrate that stronghold, as it were. So I think that we may have made some advance with it, but one thing that I will note is that the young lady Greta, she boycotted the COP27, saying that this is going to be a greenwash, and to some extent, you have to agree with her that this is just more politics. The biggest thing that came out of this convention is the repatriations, or the commitments to compensate some of the damage that has been done by corporations and so on. So I think that it's a very difficult thing to penetrate, but at least we have to be there and state our case. So thank you, brother, for the question.
You're very welcome. I expected it to be very, very frustrating there. I'm wondering if some of the indigenous people could get with some of the small island nations and make some of the difficult points that needed to be made. I mean, as I understand the United Nations, you have to be a nation to get on the floor. And some of those small nations can do that. And did you find that they were at all listening and helpful?
Yeah, obviously, when you have 30,000 people and there's only 500 of you, you better be you better have a sense of solidarity there. I think that the great thing that came out of this is to show the world that we continue to be united as indigenous peoples, and as I emphasized earlier, indigenous comes in all colors. So I think that it's a tough thing to penetrate. It's a tough thing to make any headway with our advocacies.
Thank you very much. I'll cede the floor for another question.
Great. Thank you, Ron, for those questions. We had a comment from Paloma Beamer. She said, "Thank you, Chile. It's always an honor to hear you speak, and thank you for being such an amazing inspiration, for reminding us of the importance of our work and how we must fight to defend Mother Earth and to fight together for the way of life that overcomes those evil forces to protect life. Gracias de mi corazón. And Josie Fu said, thank you, Shache, and glad you're home. Maury said, I love your story so much. Can you talk about how Indigenous knowledge can become a part of climate solution? Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question, Maury. You know, my contention is that there were 4 creations of the 4 colors of people, and we were each given that basic knowledge of how to live, how to treat each other, how to treat the earth. And through the years, through the centuries, the red people, the black folks, and the yellow people, they remain true to those instructions of how to live on this earth. It's the white tribe that began to have some sense of superiority, not only over other colors of man, but over nature itself. And the white tribe began wandering over the hill to see what they could find. And in that process, they lost their connection with their roots. So they are a lost, wandering people now. But because our beginnings were all very common, what we refer to as the original instructions, the original teachings, are applicable to all colors of man. So we as Indigenous people, we are willing to share our knowledge with people of all color. And you know, when I talk about this thought, I'll have white folks, friends, come to me and say, we understand what you're saying. There is such a void in our reality that we know that something should be there, but it's missing. We're missing something. So that recognition is there, and the explanation and the sharing of our knowledge is something that I feel needs to happen with people of all color. And yeah, I think that we as Indigenous people certainly have that knowledge to share that is applicable to people of all color.
Great. Okay. We have a few more comments. We have a comment from Donna House. Thank you, Chili and Carletta. Another one from Hazel James. Okay, Shanala Chili, great work in representing Indigenous peoples. And any other questions out there? Any reflections or any other comments that anybody wants to share at this time?
I just want to say thank you, Carletta, for this amazing opportunity on the last day before we all head into the holidays to hear Chili talk about his amazing experience doing something that, frankly, all of us should be doing. So thank you for being the representative on the ground doing that on our behalf. But as I think things unfold, many more of us will be inspired to, buy the airplane ticket and go through all the work and expenses that you did Chile to get there and to go through that powerful experience. So thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you, Carletta. Happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carbon. And we have a question from Michael Dirklo. Good to see you, Michael.
Carletta, it's good to see you. So good to see you. I haven't seen you forever. So good to see all of you. And I'm sorry I got on late. Is this going to be available to watch later on, Carletta?
Yes, it will be.
Oh, good.
I'll share the link. Yes.
Okay. Have a happy holiday, everybody.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Thought you're going to ask a hard question. Just kidding. We have a comment from Kelly McDonald. And she says, in July this year, the migratory monarch butterfly was classified as an endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. I believe a major reason is climate change. I think about how many species are going to be endangered or extinct, along with the challenges that Indigenous peoples and all of humanity are and will be facing, as well as the challenges, pollution, and disturbances to water and the earth and air. Is there a way that we can all unite to help the animals, insects, and will be helping everyone at the same time?
Those of us that appreciate nature, appreciate the life that we were blessed with, we are up against a powerful enemy. The enemy that has incalculable resources. And it's a tough fight. There's no questions that we are we're in a major struggle for life itself. You know, some of our own medicine people, they say that it's too late. That all we can do is to understand the world that we are going into, the world that our young people, our grandchildren are going into. It's just a matter now of understanding that predicament that we have been placed in and to get ready for those hard times. You know, that's such a dire message, but that's the state of our situation. And I truly appreciate the hope that is stated there. What can we do? All we can do is continue to believe that there can be a better day, to be people of good hearts, and to defend the Earth Mother for all that we can. It's such a complicated, difficult situation that we have been placed in. And the main culprit to me is this business of capitalism. Capitalism is the product of the wanderings and searching and the capturing of treasure and things of value. And unfortunately, to state again here that it's the white tribe that is causing the trouble of the world that we are in. I have to qualify that by recognizing that there are many people of good heart, many people who truly care about humanity, who truly care about the earth. So you know who you are, and we appreciate you, and we are truly brothers and sisters. Those of us that care for the earth. It doesn't look bright. It doesn't look good, our future prospects. But as my dad told me, he says, just because you know something is going to end a certain way, it's going to come to a certain conclusion. You don't just stand there and watch it happen. Do something. So those of us here on the screen, those of our colleagues, those of our brothers and sisters with good hearts, that's all we can do is continue doing something, defending our Earth Mother, defending humanity. And good is greater. Good is greater than evil. We must believe that. No matter how overwhelming, how powerful the enemy is of that good, we must continue to believe.
Yeah, Shana, that was a really great message and a wonderful way to conclude this seminar. And there is hope. And here at the Indigenous Resilience Center, our vision is that we see a world in which Indigenous communities are thriving and adaptable to meet environmental and societal changes, and that Indigenous ways of knowing are important in co-designing those environmental solutions. We also are committed to training the next generation of community leaders who can work towards working with Indigenous communities alongside them to find these solutions to meet these pressing environmental challenges such as climate change. I want to thank you, Shana, for joining us here today to share your experience and your wisdom, and to have an opportunity to have that community connection, as well as understand what it takes to advocate at the international level and the challenges that you face. I want to thank all of you for joining us here today. Please visit our website at the Indigenous Resilience Center. Also, the Native Fuse Alliance, which is committed to training the next generation of Indigenous young people to work in Indigenous communities in Food, Energy, Water Nexus, as well as the University of New Mexico Transformation Network, which is working on different aspects of sustainability and the trajectories from rural to urban communities to address many of these environmental challenges. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please continue to look out for our webinars that we'll continue to host in 2023. Have a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Blessings, Carletta. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.